Why would you do that? Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Cubist. My name is Bill Corey. I am the Cubist, and I am excited for tonight. This is going to be a fun topic. And more importantly, we have fun guests. We have Mr. Jason Kotarski here of Green Couch Games. Hello, Jason.
Hey, how's it going, Cubist people and humans?
And also humans. Yay. Which is not us. Whatever, man. Haterizing right out the gate. And also representing Button Shy Games and all of his other endeavors, Mr. Jason Tagmire is here. Hello, Jason.
Hey, how's it going, Cubist people and humans?
Want to
and also humans. Yay. Not us. Whatever, man. Haterizing right out the gate. And also, is that just me?
No, I hear it.
There we go. Somebody has their YouTube on still.
That was me. I apologize.
Oh, that was Mr. Patrick Hillier.
It's like I've never done this before.
I know. Rookie mistake. Hello, Patrick.
I just stepped into a TARDIS and
I know, right?
Happened.
What's funny is that is almost always me in the background. So I'm really excited when it's not. So, Patrick, how are you tonight, sir?
I am just totally out of sorts, but I'm here.
Well, I promise we will only keep you up about half as late as we did last week tonight.
All right, thank you.
And rejoining us on the heels of a very successful Granite Game Summit is Kimberly Revia is here. Hi, Kimberly. Welcome back.
Hi, Billy.
Hi. Your voice, you're going to be super froggy all night. That's all right. We're only going to make you talk a little bit, I promise. Very good. All right. So tonight, the name of the show is It's Not the Size of the Box, ... We're going to be talking about small box games with smaller shelf space perhaps, but big gameplay theoretically. And we'll, of course, let the Jasons, their combined powers, describe exactly the way to make that a successful business model and maintain table presence. But first, we have to talk about what we've been playing lately. But first, we have to announce the winner of our contest from last week. So for those of you who watched the show last week, yes, we had a contest. Sponsor of the show, Ben Detloff, donated a copy of Whistle Stop from Bezier Games for us to give away. And coincidentally, around the same time, Peace Loving Games released this fantastic video with various user submissions of why they love board games. And so we ran the contest of if you could spot the Cubist and use the hashtag SpotTheCubist or email thecubistpodcast@gmail.com with the timestamp of when the Cubist appears. And in this case, because I say every week, and I am the Cubist, that would be my ugly mug. When the timestamp of when I appeared in that video, you sent me the correct timestamp, you got entered into the contest. We randomized before the show went live. And
I don't believe you.
We did. You know what? Don't be that guy, because I even pointed the camera at the die that I rolled, so that way it would be legit and everything. By the way, before I get any further, hello, chat room. Good to see you all. We will get back to you in just a hot second. But the winner, the big winner of Whistle Stop from Bezier Games was Mike Van de Castile. Or wait, I'm sorry. How do we pronounce his name, Patrick? You did it.
Google.
Yes, that for sure. Anyway, Mike, congratulations. You are the big winner. So, Mike.
Often in the chat, but not there tonight.
Yes, not there yet. We're real early in the show. So, everybody, if he isn't here yet, when he shows up and says something in the chat, pick on him for being late and tell him that we'll make the joke about must be present to win, like they do in all those stupid church raffles. And then we'll. No, it'll be fine.
Paul is there if you want to make fun of him.
But Paul is there?
Yeah.
That's true. No, Paul.
Too.
Yeah, Paul was at Granite Game Summit, so I don't want to pick on him too much. But yeah, Paul was the only person that sent me. Well, that's a long story. Paul, I will email you and tell you the story later. But anyway, that's our big winner. Congratulations, Mike. We will be sending you a copy of Whistle Stop within the next couple of weeks. So good job. Very good. All right, let's talk about stuff we've been playing lately. I want to start with Jason Kotarski. We may or may not have discussed what he was going to talk about. And as a DJ, I'm really geeked about this one. What'd you play, Jason?
Yeah, I played Drop Mix.
Yeah, you did.
Nice. Yeah. This awesome coffin of a game, which if you know anything about me, this is bigger than any game I own.
And bigger than all the games you've published put together, maybe.
You could fit dozens more of my games in that box. Yeah, so I've been playing it a lot with my family, with my wife and 2 small children, and that's one of the cool things about it for me. So the game is this giant console that's $100. You got these cards that have microchips in them. and they are all parts of songs, and you're playing cards onto this dashboard to create mashups, and they're popular songs, not as which popular songs that are making me feel old, since I only know about 30% of the songs that are in the set that it comes with it. But my kids know which ones they like, and there's a free play where you're just doing that. You're just mixing music, and you could hook this sucker up to your Bluetooth device and actually DJ your party with it if you wanted to. And there's a game or two involved. There's the Clash, which is a versus kind of 1-on-1 or 2 versus 2 game.
With Clash songs would be really cool.
Oh, dude, that's good. I haven't collected all the cards yet, so I don't know if that would be wonderful. That's meta right there.
Yes, that's.
And there's a party mode, which I haven't played the party mode yet. But the things I like about it is that I played with my mother-in-law, who isn't a big gamer. I played with my wife, who is a little more competitive. I played with my 5-year-old, and like we were all like in it together, because it has that video game thing, which I'm not a big video game guy. Tagmire can maybe speak to this a little bit, but like how the games teach you as you go. And like, I don't really have to know how that game works to play it. That's kind of a downside for my brain as a gamer, because that's part of the fun, is like, how can I work within this system? And I'm not a video gamer. So like, I want to know how everything works, rather than just like playing it 10 times to figure out how it works. But like, the scoring is kept on your iDevice, you know? And you're like, why did I just get 3 points? Or I expected to get 3 points, and I'm only actually getting 1 point in the game. But it like, then I can forget all about that and like, you know, like get grooving with the music, and everything is better.
Yeah,
So,
I never even got that far. I just jammed out to Super Freak for like 4 hours. It's like really slow Super Freak song that we made up, and just let it go, and I just had a lot of fun just jamming out with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible that like one of the cards, I don't know how the technology works, but like you play a card and something takes precedence, and every other card changes key and like beats per minute to match that card that is like the one that has precedent. So like hearing the keys change, hearing the tempos change of these songs, like I just think about the work that went into like separating all those tracks and doing that work, and that is just mind-boggling to me. And that's what's so exciting, is because it's like it's something that I don't understand, or I'm starting to like understand like something about tabletop games and card games, and having this new device in front of me has just been like, whoa, like I'm in over my head. I don't know what I'm doing and how I can possibly make a living making games. So this is what people are doing. But
Brandon in the chat pointed out that Harmonix is very good at what they do. I mean, this is the company that originally brought us Rock Band, right? So like the idea of gamifying music and making it a compelling experience is sort of has been their mission statement since they've existed, as far as I know. So it's not surprising at all. I'm curious. The only way that I've played is whatever the cooperative mode is, where everybody is sort of trying to get the...
Oh, that must be the party mode, yeah.
Sure. That's the only way that I played. I played that at BGG last year, and that was the only way that I've gotten a chance to play it. You played the competitive mode, right?
Yes.
How did you like the game itself, like as a game?
So the game itself, in that sense, is probably just a step or two up from Uno. Like it's very simple. Like you have the board that tells you which card colors can be played where. You have your 6 cards in your hand, and you have 2 actions on your turn, and you can either play a card that is anywhere on the board where the level of your card is higher than the card that's already there and in the right color position, or you can hit the drop mix button, which is essentially a fancy electronic spinner. and that's just a mulligan, really. It's like I can't play any of my cards, so like to me, I'm like, oh, that's bad game design. Like you push that card and maybe it'll clear off the board for you, so you can like play one of your cards. Gotcha. At first I'm like, this is barely a game, and I've heard people say that, like it's more of an activity, it's barely a game. But like they do talk about deck building, that you can give yourself a certain amount of points, like 30 or 40 level points, and you can use all the cards, not just from a specific playlist, to build your own little deck to kind of like create some tactical options. Adam McIver told me that him and his wife play it that way, and they started building their decks and just playing it kind of one-on-one in that way. So
there's those gray cards too. I'm not sure what those do.
Oh, there are some the other special action cards, and those count as like four points or something each. And you out of your 1, 2, or 3s as you're adding up your point total if you're building a deck. But like each playlist has a couple of those. That's what the playlists are, like the genre types of packs that you buy. So like I wouldn't have bought this game if it was full price, but I got it, which is $100. It comes with the 60 cards, 4 different decks, playlists. But it was on clearance, and I had my Barnes & Noble membership, so it ended up being $40. And then I bought 2 of the playlists, but now I want, and those were $15. So I've almost spent like as much on 60 cards as I have like on this device. So I really want all of the cards, because on the back on the back it says like we only promise we're going to support this game until 2021. So I'm like, kind of like, let's just grab them all now, and then I can play it forever. But like, I'm looking at another $150 to get everything that's out there, unless I've heard rumors of clearance sales, because the game isn't really flying off retail shelves, I don't think. So
I feel like I have not seen this being sold at its MSRP of $100 since about a month after it came out. I think that it's been at the very least on sort of a perpetual, or at least often recurring sale on Amazon, as an example.
Like
for somewhere between like 25 to 50% off, pretty much 24/7. So I think pretty commonly you can get the base for like $50. You got an even better deal, of course, which is awesome. But
yeah.
I couldn't help but start nodding and laughing as soon as you said that. Of course, you had to go buy more packs right out the gate, right? Because that's the whole point of this, isn't it? Is that they're gonna, that's how Rock Band worked too. They got you in the door, and then they sold you a crap ton of music in the music store later. Because if you're a music nerd, you're going to buy it. So, all right, definitely. Jason, on the patented Cubist scale, is Drop Mix a buy it, play it, forget it, or burn it?
I mean, it's a buy it if it's on sale. It's a play it for sure, because there's no experience like it.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. And I mean, anybody, by the way, if you follow Jason Kotarski on social media, especially Instagram, you'll notice that he is as big of a music nerd probably as I am. So like, I'm not at all surprised that you fell in love with this. Like,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it scratched all the right itches, and I'm currently in a like music immersion phase in my life. So like it just hit on all the right cylinders. Hit all the right notes.
Oh God, I hate.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I can't future endeavor special guests, can I? That's not a thing I can do. All right, fine, Jason. All right, I agree. So I would at MSRP, we're calling it a play it, but if you can get a good deal on it, all right, very good. Kimberly, you haven't been on the show in so long, and you barely have a voice, so we have to, of course, make you talk about a game.
I'll talk about a game. I don't have like a scratchy throat. I'm just not used to talking to people for 24 hours a day, 5 days in a row.
Sure.
Okay. I got to play Elos. Paul can grant me here. I played it with the lovely Paul and Christopher and Cal at Granite Game Summit this weekend. It is designed by Frederic Girard.
Patrick Hillier, official mispronouncer of names. There you go.
That's right. It is a little hand management / market manipulation game where on your turn you can either play a card, which you pay for in the cost of other cards, or and then they trigger things like you can impact the stock, or you can dig because you're building a little island out. Mine, I think probably is what it's called. Or you can play a tile and move your boat, and you have to have these little like pirate ship guys. It's cute. It's clever. It's quick. I played it incorrectly. It may have been an adult cider included in that.
There you go. That's fair.
And I should say I played the game correctly. I did not, however, ever pay myself my resources,
Oh no.
which is how you score the game. It's resources. The end game is resources multiplied by what the market lands on. And then they realized, I think it was Christopher towards the end of the game. He was like, okay, did you pay yourself or did you give yourself all your resources that quickly? And I was like, I took the steel that I mined. And he was like, but the rest of them? And I was like, what do you mean the rest?
Oh boy.
You're supposed to be paying yourself for all of the things you've mined thus far every time you take a turn. I had done that 0 times.
Oh, good. So you got half of the game experience. You got all the playing, just none of the winning.
Right. That's pretty
All
much
right. Well, that's
They were like, oh no.
so you were being a good host. As the host of Granite Game Summit, you were ensuring that your guests had a great time. This is me trying to spin it for you. How am I doing?
Yes, it's wonderful. It's a good job. Also, I've had, a cider, so that for me is enough to make my brain function not so well.
That's fair.
But I enjoyed the playthrough of the game. It's quick. It's fun. I like anything with a market and market manipulation usually. This would be like a family weight market and intro game. Gotcha.
Okay. So you say family weight, is there anything else that you would sort of compare it to? Like if it has a same feel as or like fits in the same niche as kind of game? Because like when you started describing it, it sounded a little Race for Galaxy-ish as far as the, using X, cards to pay for other cards and whatever.
Thing. I mean,
Right.
I think that is a thing that happens in a lot of games, right? You use cards and pay for them with other cards. I'm terrible at comparing games, Bill.
I know that's part of what makes this fun for me.
I know. I think the simplified market manipulation is a little bit like mini rails, but different.
Okay.
But it's like that same weight of ease and teachability as mini rails if you've played that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So on the Cubist scale, Ilos or Ilo, what are we going with? Is it Ilos? Patrick, what are we going with?
I expected Paul to tell me.
I lose. I don't want to go with that.
Everybody plays it, she loses.
That she lose. That's Kimberly playing it. That's not the right. All right. Anyway, on the scale,
Love you, Kimberly.
Those are not the fingers I thought you were going to hold up. On the Cubist scale, buy it, play it, forget it, or burn it.
I would rank it for most people probably in the buy it, like a more family friendly, or a play it if you like heavier games. It's still enjoyable to play, but you probably wouldn't want to own it.
Okay.
So it depends on your target. You know how I always do this. I'm sorry. You love me.
Yep. No, and that's. I mean, I think that's very appropriate. So yeah, I think I agree. Just based on your quick description, I agree. Very
there
good.
We go. He said Ilos. I assume that's what Paul was.
Ilos.
Like,
there we go.
I think Ilos.
Yes. Board Game Trucker, by the way, has asked about Bling It. I feel like that would be that'd be a weird game to bling, and B, the new rating system, the rating system 2.0 is coming when we release new merch later in the year. Stay tuned, and that's all I'm going to say. All right, Jason Tagmire. Hi.
Hello.
Your enthusiasm is overwhelming, sir. Yes,
I'm
we're going to talk about a game too.
Yeah, so my game is Isle of Trains.
Yes.
I played it Granite Game Summit over the weekend for the first time ever. And it's like, if you haven't played it, it's a tiny little Dice Hate Me game by Dan Keltner and Seth Jaffe. And you're building trains. They produce resources, but they only produce resources if your opponents play cards underneath of them. And when they play cards, they're going to get all these cool special abilities that are immediately better than what you get, but eventually what you get will build up and score you some points to hopefully win the game. I lost terribly, but I had a great time playing it. It has like this amazing player interaction. I don't know. It's super good. It's a train game, but it's not like a train game.
Yeah.
That, I guess everybody probably knows what that means. But yeah, and it's a small box, which is thematic for this episode.
I was going to say.
And a wonderful pun in the name.
Yeah, I every time I heard Chris Kirkman say it, I was like, I couldn't find it when I searched "I love trains," but
yep,
yeah,
I didn't get that until just now.
Yeah, well, with his little southern accent, "I love trains." I always heard it.
All right. Yeah. And it also took me a long time to see the arrow in the FedEx logo. Okay. So my brain just doesn't do that. All right. That's fine.
That's
Whatever.
fine.
Everything's fine. No, I love trains. Oh boy.
There's an arrow in the FedEx logo.
Holy crap. What?
Mm.
Oh boy. All right.
I'm a graphic
Your
designer.
homework for the next couple minutes is to go look
Be
up
right
a FedEx.
Muting myself, Googling FedEx.
Isle of Trains, I think one of the things that I love about that game specifically is that you're fulfilling these little contracts, which are turned into the map, right? So like there's a map of the little island, and you claim one of the 6 segments of the map, and that is the thing that you then have to fulfill in order to basically score points and win the game. I think that's such an interesting and smart way of giving you that train game feel. And that, yeah, there we go. Hang on. Jason, if you do that again, I will present it to the group so that way everybody can see. There we go. So like that's one of the 6 cards that you'll have to fulfill. And things along the sidebar are what it needs. Yep. So that's what it starts with. That's the easy side. And then eventually you'll do one of the other sides, which is just really cool. It's just such a smart and interesting design choice to turn what is effectively just a card game in and give it that extra little bit of table presence. And we are definitely going to come back to that whole motif over the span of the show, I have a feeling. So, yep. All right. So, Jason, Isle of Trains from Dice Hate Me, Dan Keltner, Seth Jaffe. Buy it, play it, forget it, or burn it.
I would say if you play with more than 2 players, definitely buy it for sure. I haven't played it with 2 yet, but just the way the player interaction works, I would suspect that it's better with 3 or 4. So if you play with 3 or 4, it's like $8 on Amazon.
Yeah,
definitely buy it.
It's really good. I have played it at 2-player, and it was fine. But I definitely, as a matter of fact, I think I've only played it at 2-player, but I played it a bunch when I first got it, and I think that it definitely screamed for more players. So, Board Game Trucker in the chat. Is it route building or a different focus? It is not route building. It is specifically like resource gathering and contract fulfillment. Yeah, is a better way to say it. And there's a little bit of sort of engine building with how you're putting the cards into your little tableau in front of you. So does that seem accurate, Jason?
Yeah, for sure. I was going to say engine building, but Kotarski nixed all the puns in the episode. So.
Oh boy. Well, but Patrick is here, so they. Yeah, say we have Patrick on the show this week. The puns will happen whether we would like them not to or otherwise. So there,
puns will flow.
The puns will flow. Oh boy! All right, so buy it if you have more than 2.
Yeah, for
in
sure.
Your regular group. Okay, I agree. Very good. Yeah, Isle of Trains is fun. All right, last but certainly not least, because we have to get to the shelf of glory behind Mr. Patrick Hillier.
All right, Patrick. So this is a small box game that I just finally got around to playing. This is by Joshua Mills's a Green Cooch game.
Oh my God! Wow, see you guys later. That's a mispronunciation. I'd like to avoid moving forward if we can do that. That'd be great. That's not okay, Patrick.
Rocky Road a la mode by our guest host, Jason Kotarski's company. What an awesome little game. My wife and I played. We're having a little 2-player game night. And this was really hot a couple of years ago at Origins. And speaking of Origins, I'm going to tear it tangent. Several years ago, I was playing this game, Pixel Lincoln. And I was sitting confused, reading the rule book, had no idea what was going on. It was in the hot games room. And this guy came up to me and goes, "Hey, you want me to teach you how to play this?" And I said, "Why? Do you know how to play it?" He goes, "Yeah, I designed it." And Mr. Jason,
who was that? I'm gonna have to have words with him.
Yeah, Jason Tagmire sat down and taught me how to play his own game. So that was a lot of fun.
Nice.
But anyway, so we sat down and figured out Rocky Road All Mode. It's similar to what we were just talking about. So it has sort of this multi-use card thing going on. It has order fulfillment. But what I really liked about it, you're driving these little ice cream trucks around a track that has sort of a patchwork feel to it. My wife kind of picked on that real quick, where she says, you say, I'm going to draw 5 cards, and you move your ice cream truck, drive 5, and then the person behind you gets to go as many turns as they want to go until they catch up to you and go past you. So there's this, that's where the tension of the game really is like, how far do I want to go and take my actions before I give too many actions to my opponent behind them, and I really enjoyed that attention in the game. So you take a couple actions, either drawing cards or fulfilling orders from your cards, and then when you fulfill your cards, those give you both victory points and or permanent ice cream cones, or and of course my wife came up with all these fun names for all the treats that you get, whippy dips and orange push-up things, and I don't use the right names for anything in games. They're just things. But she had to come up with a special name for all the ice cream treats from what she had when she was kids, so that was a lot of fun. But we had a great time.
Can I just say, after your intro to the company name, I'm super nervous about any name you're going to say about anything for the remainder of the show now.
Oh, we're all good. We're all good.
Oh, boy. All right. I have not had a chance to play this yet.
So Board Game Trucker says, like Craftwagon. It's a very simplified version of Craftwagon, right? You're driving ice cream trucks. You're not building V8 speed racers and stuff. But it's good. It's really good. I was really glad I got it and pleasantly surprised. And you were saying about there's a lot more in that little box than I expected. So
I'm a little bit biased in general because I like Jason quite a bit. Adam McIver is a personal friend of mine, and he's he's the artist on the game. I'm biased, and now I'm just mad that I haven't played it. Like I don't know anybody that owns this game, and when it came out, I was just coming off of my austerity where I was not buying games. So I really dialed way back on all the purchases I have, but now I feel like I have to have this. So. So
yeah,
it's pretty good.
Definitely a buy it.
It's pretty good. It says totally unbiased, Jason.
We probably have a few left. So
all right, very good. All right. Well, we'll have a conversation.
In the warehouse.
Got a couple? That's all right. It's a buy it, right? And not just because Jason's sitting right there and scowling at us and complaining up past his bedtime.
I've trashed other games before.
That's true. Very good.
No, all right. Pretty solid. I was definitely very happy with this one.
Yeah, it's real.
The only thing I haven't figured out, hey, well, as long as I have somebody here on board, what are the player aid cards like flip over and have like real road on them?
Yeah, originally the game did not come with a folding board. That was a Kickstarter stretch goal. Some folks like that little, like, as Jason Tagmire with Button Shy Games has learned, people like those games you can slip in your pocket. So if you throw away the board, or if you want to take it on vacation, you could like put the whole game in your sock and just back of those. You can fit it in your quiver a lot easier. Actually, my boxes fit in a quiver, so
nice.
You can fit like 4 boxes of mine in a quiver. But anyway,
I think I've got ladder 29 in my quiver, as a matter of fact. I see that on your shelf.
Yep. So it's totally just like for more portability. We have the space on the back of the cards and just kind of kept it for those who like to be able to make their games compact.
Cool. That answers that question. It's kind of what I suspected, but just double checking.
All right. So now I need a quiver and Rocky Road a la mode. And so this is just going to end up costing me a bunch of money. Can we get to the important part? Kimberly, did you see the arrow?
She's on mute.
Yeah, she's nodding. She saw the arrow.
I muted because I was typing. Hi. Yes, I did. I showed it to you.
All right, very good.
Yeah, I saw it sort of.
I saw it. Yeah. It made me sad when
X.
Yes, it made me sad how long it took me to see it. Like I just felt like the dumbest kid in the room for a really, really long time.
I Googled it. I just Googled FedEx logo arrow and I found a picture where it was highlighted.
Oh, and then they pointed it out to you? All right, that's fair. That's fair. Very good. All right, so let's get into our main topic, which is small box games. So I'm going to just come real clean here, okay? I am coming at this as somebody that fancies himself a heavy gamer, maybe even an epic gamer. My all-time favorite game is Eclipse. I have the base game and every expansion. The Colonists is in my top 10. I love all these huge, gigantic, you could kill a man if you really needed to games with these huge boxes that you could use to like hold the tent flaps down in a storm. This is the stuff that I tend to gravitate towards. So when we set up the show, I'm going to come at this one. Most of the time when we have special guests on the show about a topic, I try to ask questions to provoke a discussion about something. But in this particular episode, I'm going to be asking questions from a genuinely sort of uninformed / biased point of view. And I want to be real clear about that, not because I don't think that there's value in it, but because I have never been that guy, right? Like I've never been the guy that has a quiver with 20 games in it that I can take to a convention, right? Like I'm the guy that has the IKEA bag with 4 games in it. And I'm like, I got this, y'all. Let's sit and play Democker for 6 hours. So I'm going to be asking a lot of questions here as a genuinely uninformed person here. So I want to start with Jason Tagmire here. Button Shy is the smallest of the small game companies. Is that fair to say? Like, is there, I mean, the Mintworks guys are probably giving you a run for your money, but theirs involve metal.
These might be a little smaller.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, we have the Pack-A game. Okay. I forgot about Pack-A game.
What about that one game that Adam did?
Coinage.
Coinage. Yep, that's true.
That's
okay.
the smallest game I have.
Sure, because that's one card.
Yes.
And the pocket change that you might. Although I tell you what, we're getting to the point where I don't carry a lot of pocket change anymore. That game's actually getting harder to play as time marches on. But anyway, so let's start with you. What drove the idea behind focusing on small games, Mr. Tagmire?
So it was a few things. One, I wanted something simple when I decided I was going to start publishing. I didn't want to get into all of the work with setting up a variety of components and a lot of back and forth with the factory. They have one component, it's just cards. So our games are 18 cards, a wallet, and a little fold-out rule sheet. So it's just, for me, it was just simplicity. Also, for me, I love just the whole idea of product development, and I get hooked on just simply a product line. So the idea is that all games fit into the same mold. So we're not reinventing the wheel every single time we come up with a new game. We're not, it's a different size file for the artwork. It's all the stuff is exactly the same. So that was my first approach, was how can we come up with a line where everything fits the same mold. Is really simple for me to dabble in publishing, because at the time I was just dabbling. And the 18 cards was, I guess, micro games were kind of a thing back then. It was right after Love Letter hit and a couple others. So I decided I was going to try my friend's game, Movie Plots, which was like 12 cards at the time. And that worked out. I designed a game after that, and then all of a sudden it was like, all right, we're gonna go with this and do them every month. And
gotcha. Well, and that's a really good point. That's something that I think I know for a fact that I didn't know until I started doing some research coming up to this, as I didn't know that there was this literal like board game a month. Like you have sort of a subscription. I mean, why don't you describe it? Because I'm going to mumble around here too much.
So because we were doing the monthly, I decided I was going to do a Patreon called the Board Game of the Month Club. And what that was you could get every game just delivered to you without having to go through, kickstarting them and all that stuff. But the other side of it was built so that we had our fan base, we kept them all in one place. And when it came time for a Kickstarter, we would say, here's the $1 pledge. It's for all the people at the Board Game of the Month Club. They all get some sort of discount for the games. So our day one, Kickstarter is like fueled by your day one. If you have a really good day one, then it keeps going. If you have a bad day one, it's a disaster. So we have all these people will come over on day one and back the game, even if they're backing for $1 or $5 because they're getting whatever their monthly discount is. We have a huge turnout on day one. So it's just getting the numbers going, and we're mailing them content every month at the same time.
Gotcha. So it's that plan was as much customer retention as it was any sort of a business model. I don't know. I feel like I'm saying this wrong. You built a business model around customer retention, and then your publishing style folded into that. Perfect. Yeah,
and it's sort of fits the mold where it's kind of that punk rock DIY thing where you're getting something in the mail every month.
Gotcha.
Just like you used to get your newsletter or your zines and whatever else. So it felt right for the product line.
So you're the Loot Crate of board games at the moment.
It's like the Loot Crate with one millionth of the amount of subscribers.
Much smaller crate. Gotcha. No, that's interesting. I like the idea of that.
Buy 12 board games for a penny.
Nice. Oh God, Columbia
We're
House
the
of Board
Columbia
Games.
House of Board Games.
Oh no! All right. I as a
That's
music
aging
nerd,
myself.
that hurts my feelings a little
Yeah.
bit. I'm just throwing that out there. I may have inadvertently bought a lot of crappy music back in the day.
Oh, I did too.
No, boy. All right. So, Jason Kotarski, your game as Green Couch is slightly bigger games, right? But still has a smaller footprint. I mean, you were talking about how your games in the box still fit in a quiver, right? Like, so a boxed copy of your game fits into a thing that's meant to hold decks of cards. So,
Yes.
obviously, you're doing something similar here. What is your view? Like, when you decide to publish something, I mean, besides just, is this a good game? Because that's the gimme answer for any publisher, right? Like they'd say, yeah, well, it's a good game. I want to publish it. What else goes into this product, or like this decision from a publishing standpoint? Like as far as, you know, do you focus on, I want this game to stay small, or, you know, what's the thought process here in this paradigm?
Yeah. So, I have a few kind of indicators that I look for. Like the first one is always the box size. So if I go to a game design event where there's like Unpub or something, I can like narrow it down to like 20% of the games because I know they won't fit in the box size that I have chosen. And that box is like a 3.5 inch by 5 inch box, 1 inch deep. And that I've had 9 games in that box size. And it doesn't necessarily just have to be a card game. Most of them have been card based. Kind of moving into adding some boards, and we have some kind of custom tokens in there. So like I look at that size, like would that game be small enough to fit in that box? And soon I'm breaking that rule by kind of going into some slightly bigger boxes too, to do some kind of family style, like Munchkin size boxes for family games. But like, so that also, I want that approachability that I can learn this game in 5 minutes, play it under an hour. I would prefer to have it around closer to 30 minutes. So playtime is a big deal for me. How easy it is to learn is a big deal for me. And then like the theme, could it have an approachable kind of theme that goes beyond typical like geekery? I love my geeks, and I am certainly one of the geeks. But I just want to have something that will appeal beyond our kind of circle, kind of bridging the gap between those serious gamers looking for a good filler to casual gamers who maybe this is the only kind of game they're going to play. So like all those factors are kind of in my head when I'm looking for a game. If it plays good, maybe I won't like the theme, but can I put a theme on it that fits that mold? And I don't think there is a game that I haven't kind of stuck with the designer's original intent for a theme. So that hasn't really come up yet. But yeah, those things are really important to me. Just kind of, I think the small box, because you as an Epic gamer, Bill, you're looking for those big boxes, and I think I'm
stuck with them half the time.
Right? People run the opposite direction. Like, no, let's not play with Bill today.
Yeah.
But like, as a casual gamer, you go into a game store, like you're going to look for something that's attractive, that doesn't feel overwhelming, I think. So like the compact ones, that are 10 or 20 bucks, like those might be the ones that you're looking towards, especially if they have kind of colorful, family friendly art. It's like, okay, maybe this isn't too much. So I have to really kind of like, try not to like make them like look like they are kids games, but I want them to be also like appealing to like the family as well. So yeah.
From an old guy standpoint, one of the things that from my generation, I'm about to turn 45 years old, and my generation, the Muppets were kind of and they're still obviously a cultural icon, but the reason I think that they worked so well is because kids could get into them, but the adults still had something to latch onto. The way that you were describing what you're looking for in games reminds me something similarly to that, which is in that it's something that's approachable that maybe non-gamers or casual gamers can get into in a few minutes and enjoy, but that has enough meat on the bones that a gamer, like a quote unquote hardcore gamer or whatever word you want to throw in there, can latch onto. Is that, I mean, am I diagnosing what you're saying right?
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, we could talk about Jim Henson, and that would just make the rest of my night. So, but like, I appreciate that.
Sideshow, I'm ready.
That connection. But yeah, absolutely. Like, kind of that's the thing. It's like, you know, we always talk, like, you hear the term gateway games, right? And those are typically associated with stuff like Catan and Ticket to Ride, which I find those games are still overwhelming to like my family members, right? So kind of like not necessarily just the gateway to the gateway, but like these games, like I want them to introduce things that can lead people to go deeper, like more interesting mechanics than just like, well, roll this die and that's your result and that determines everything about your game, or draw this card and play a card. Like I want more going on than that. I want people to see a little bit more to the world, in the world of games, like what else is out there. So like the time track kind of thing in Rocky Road, bluffing in Outlawed, a different kind of take on trick taking with Ladder 29, like classic feelings that have a little bit more going on than like a typical game that's going to be played at like, you know, family Thanksgiving.
Right, exactly. Okay, so Jason Tagmire, I'm going to jump back to you here.
If you want to talk about Muppets, I can talk about Muppets.
We can always talk. I
can. If I go about 8 feet, I have a signed Jim Henson Kermit the Frog stuffed.
What?
And then if I go about 10 feet that way, I have the gold record from the Muppet movie.
Oh my God. I'm coming over. Can I come over? Just want to come hang out and bask in the glory of your excellent geekdom there. All right. So Jason, I want to ask you this in all seriousness though. One of the things that seems to be a trend, and there's a couple people, Paul in the chat has given me crap about all the games that I have need custom inserts or you know, whatever. we talked about this about Anachrony last week. So obviously you're the opposite of that. Like what we're talking about here is the exact opposite of that. We're talking about small, efficient. What is it like? It feels like the rest of the gaming industry is going towards big, like expansive boards with tons of artwork and a million pieces and miniatures for days. I mean, we've got multi-million-dollar Kickstarters that are going off, you know, it feels like every other week, where there's stretched goals if we can give you 400,000 little plastic dudes to put on a map and whatever. How do you fight, or how do you not just fight? All right, I guess there's two questions here. First off, how do you fight against the stigma of not having all the glitz? Like, how do you battle to be recognized as being valid games?
So it's very difficult. First of all, it's even hard to photograph a game that's just cards. Like your pictures are flat. There's no height to it. It's hard to display them at conventions. It's hard to just even catch an eye with them. My whole approach is just by looking for games first and foremost by table presence. And what I define table presence as is different types of cards that simulate components in a different in ways. So if your game is just cards that you hold in your hand, you play them down, and that's the entire game, it doesn't shine for us as well as a game that has, you know, this type of card that's placed on the table, this one that sits alongside of it, these ones that are held in your hand, these ones. And with 18 cards, there's not a lot of room for all of that.
Sure.
But the more that you can simulate components, the better. And we've done a couple games that are provide your own components, kind of like Coin Age, where you provide coins, but they're non-generic. You can provide cubes or whatever, like, you know, anything like that. And so those
like the cheap ass model from back in the day when they were, I mean, similar, not the same thing, obviously, but
my approach has always been just, if you can play it with coins, it still qualifies as like a pocket game. You know, if it requires something that has a specific top and bottom, you know, like a token that has a specific top and bottom, then you can't really carry it with you the way that, you know, the way it's originally intended. So if you can just any kind of pocket change or anything you can add on to it, and maybe a couple dice or something like that. We've dabbled in that, and those games have gone really well. So anytime we've thrown some little custom bits or anything like that, it's taken off. So I'm constantly fighting that battle as to, do I want to go there or do I not want to go there? But components do sell, and they look pretty, and it's really hard.
Yeah, well, and then the second half of my question was, how do you woo the Bill Corys of the world that have boxes that can kill a man? Like, how do you get me to take a serious look at Circle the Wagons, right?
If you played Circle the Wagons, that's all I need to do. But I can't do that, and I simply just don't woo you. Like, sure. It's hard. It's word of mouth. It's our library has grown, but we have games like Universal Rule is a 4X game and 18 cards. So that's one where we're not. Our whole motto is like the opposite of Jason's. With ours was, we don't believe in filler, and part of it is just the terminology of filler. But the other thing is just I try to make, and I don't consider filler games forgettable, but we try to make them so games are memorable and they sit alongside of anything else that you would have at your game night. Now, it's like I sit alongside of Eclipse, but something like Universal Rule isn't that far off. It's not like you're sitting there playing a game of Love Letter or anything like that. It's definitely, it has some meat to it.
It's funny you mentioned Circle the Wagons, though, because when you were talking about games that you put out in a different manner, that's the first thing came to mind, because you put out this big giant circle of cards, and
yeah, absolutely,
it takes up a big space on the table rather than just a deck on the middle of the table.
Our biggest pitch is people pitch games that you can play while waiting in line, and I want to put a thing on our website that just says we don't want games that you can play while waiting in line.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's been done. I forget what games. There've been games that have done that too, right?
And let me just say that, not to split hairs, but like my goal is to redeem filler. It's to take it
it's the same thing.
From that derogatory like it's just filler to like it's like ice cream is not just filler; it is a delight. You know what I mean? But it certainly just like fills your body with things. So it would be a filler. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say there.
And I'm actually glad, Kotarski, that you brought that up, because one of the things that I don't like some of the shorthand terms that the gaming industry has put up over the years. Like, I'm not a big fan of the idea of a gateway game. I understand what people are trying to say, but I have always been of the opinion that the person is going to determine what sort of game they might be interested in based on who they are. It isn't the game's job to come to the person. It's, you know what I mean? You find a game that is suitable for the person. I feel the same way about filler games. I played, Biblios is widely considered one of the quote unquote great filler games in the world, right? But it is also one of the most tense, swear-inducing games that I play with some of my groups, because it doesn't feel like we're just playing this while we have 20 minutes to kill. It's its own game. And so I definitely understand both sides of what you're talking about, right? Is that you don't want to be labeled as filler games, because filler makes it sound like the sawdust that got put into that crappy bread back in the 90s when they were trying to sell, and that's not what you're doing. I mean, that's not what either of your companies are doing. And that's not what anybody that publishes games in this weight category. I don't know. I don't like that either. Go ahead.
I look over on my little tiny game shelf, and there's Akatiri. That's one of the heaviest little tiny brain burner games I have. It's a 2-player game. It hurts my head every time I play it, and it's just a little tiny box. I mean, there's just there's
Spirium. Spirium is, not as small, obviously, as anything that Button Shy and Green Couch make, but Spirium is one of those games that I point to as one of the most thinky games in a small box you will ever see, and that whole game realistically could end up. You could put that whole thing in a large dice bag and carry that with you without any trouble whatsoever. So there's definitely, but there is this bias, right? And this is what I meant selling me on it, Tagmire. Sorry, I'm just going to use last names because my brain's starting to hurt. This is what I meant by selling me on it, is that there is this bias, which is totally unfounded, but it has been generated by maybe games like Love Letter, where, we know that Love Letter is 18 cards and it's 20 minutes and it's fun. It isn't, quote unquote, a real game. It is, but you know what I'm saying? Like, there's this bias.
No, I saw it I think I was on Reddit the other day, and someone said that they were really interested to Circle the Wagons, but they dismissed it initially because it was 18 cards and because it was, a pocket-sized game. But it's our best-selling game. It's our best reviewed game, and I think it's the best game I'm ever going to see come across my email. It's super good, and I think that's one that will, if you played it, it could attract somebody that's into a heavier game. And it's not a heavy game. It's not super complex, but it has just a ton of choices, a ton of replayability. It looks good. It takes up a lot of the table. Yeah, that's it.
It is a great game. I can confirm. I got to play it when it was still a contest game because, Ben. And right away, I mean, we played through a lot of them because, again, Ben, anytime I have a Ben in town, we play through lots of Button Shy possible games and or future Button Shy games. And I, right away, like a couple of days later, I was like, what's the one I liked again? There was one I really liked.
When we saw the video for the contest, it was I watched it and said, "There's our winner," and we didn't even have to keep going. So
That's
it was
awesome.
a no-brainer of what I played for sure.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Go ahead.
I was going to ask, how do you get your games, Jason? Other Jason Kotarski.
How do I get my games?
Yeah.
You mean because like Jason Tagmire often uses like the contest model or that sort of thing?
Yeah, just as a contrast.
You know, that can be an overwhelming thing because I'm a one-man company, and I don't know if you noticed, there's a ton of designers out there. So, and there's a lot of games that people are just cranking out. So, I mean, I started with one of my own with Fidelitas, and then it was just kind of like I started going to Unpub and looking at games and had submissions. Most games I picked up from sitting face to face with people at a convention. And then when you get to a certain point and I have enough stuff in the queue, I kind of like put the blinders on a little bit and just focus on the next 3 games that I have, because one day a game is going to come along and it's going to require me to like change the order in which I like put things out, because I just know the timing is right to go for a game. And I want to be nimble, so I don't want to have a queue that's 2 years long. So I try not to think too far ahead of, like, I have 3 games right now that are signed and in the queue and in development. And so one of them will be a new designer who only has one other game. One of them will be a designer I've worked with before. And then the other one is just something different from a new designer that has a couple other games out. So, but yeah, so just like meeting people and being in real life is better for me because I like people, and the computer pitches all look the same after a while.
Ben, sponsor of the show, Ben Detlop, in the chat asked and wanted to direct us at both of you, but I think this ties in kind of well to Patrick's question. He asked, do you guys get worried about having too many rules and therefore a rule book taking up too much room in the box? Jason Kotarski, when you meet with people, is that part of the thought process? Like, am I going to be able to boil this down to a rule packet that I can successfully convey all the information that needs to be conveyed in this small form factor? Like, is that part of the process also?
Yeah. You know, when I was a designer before I started publishing games, and my first game was Great Heartland Hall and Company that Dice Hate Me did. And something that really stuck with me about why they picked my game up, it was that I handed them my prototype copy. We played it one time, and then the next day, I didn't have a rule set with me. The next day, they pulled it out and they played it again without having to call me, without like having to look at the rule book. They just played it one time and they knew all the rules to the game. So it was kind of like, if you can, and I taught it to them in 5 minutes. So that is important to me, to be like, can I teach this game in a succinct way that people are going to be able to like remember next time without having to like pull out a big rule book to split hairs. And I use either a 8.5 by 11 double-sided sheet or a little book that is the size of my boxes that's usually 8 to 12 pages, which really works out to be like, maybe 4 full 8.5 pages. So, yeah. So that is in my mind. As
someone that I have this iPhone 7 Plus with the extra huge, gigantic, it's almost a tablet in my pocket. And I still end up cursing at BGG's interface because I have to look up rules almost every time I sit down at a game table. I really, like, there's a part of me that's just singing thank you, because I would really like to play more games where I didn't feel like I was constantly looking up edge cases. So, like, there is something to be said for that as well. Jason Tagmire, how do you feel about, I mean, do you have something similar when it comes to rules?
Ours are very specific because they have to fit in this wallet. It's an 8-panel sheet, and it really caps out it here. Sometimes we've put in a second one or like a half of a second one because it just overflowed too much. But I try to find games that have brief enough rules that I can fit into that. I was talking to somebody about a game not that long ago, just for our Patreon, just a little tiny like 9-card game, and he said, "Is it a problem that there's 27 pages of rules?" And there were multiple problems at that point.
So wait, 3 pages of rules per card?
Yeah, it was wild. There was like 6 pages of historical reference.
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay.
I'll cut him a little bit of slack then. He's
Barron Park? No. What was the?
There were still 21 other pages of.
Yeah, what was the Chutta game with the Bears? Oh God.
Bear Valley.
45. Bear Valley came with 45
Bear
pages.
Valley.
And the rules still couldn't explain the game.
Right, it was horrible. It was horrible.
I wanted to like that game so much.
Patrick.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, but ours it's a constant thought that it just has to fit in here, and we often do have items that end up on Board Game Geek where you have to go there and look up, especially in some of the more complex games,
Sure.
like this one was Twin Stars. There's 6 different scenarios, 12 different characters, and you're playing this tiny little game that only plays with 3 cards, and we can only fit so much information in the cards and the rules. So there's quite a big FAQ going on that.
And I don't think, and there's nothing wrong with an FAQ happening, right? And there's nothing wrong with clarifications. And I, as somebody that once upon a time fancied himself as potentially being a game designer, I can say that writing rules is, for those of you in the chat and watching at home, beyond a shadow of a doubt, the hardest part by miles of designing a game is writing a rule book.
It's dreadful.
It is the worst part by a long shot, because as a designer, first off, you're so close to the forest that it's hard to see the trees, right? Like you're so zoned in. Everything already makes sense to you. That getting everything onto a piece of paper and explaining it to Bob down the street that's never seen your game before, it makes sense to you, and then you actually put it down and it doesn't make any sense at all.
I just got a comment on Kickstarter that said, these rules are the worst rules I ever read. Did you make a new version yet? And the "did you make a new version yet" really hit me, because I was like, I didn't know I needed to make a new version.
Yeah. And I know that I was just grumping about looking at BGG too, and I get that. But on the other hand, don't be a jerk, right? Like I also don't write hate mail to people and say your game sucks real bad, print another one. Like that's not.
Did you redesign it yet?
Yeah. Will you please re-release your game? No, that's not a thing. All right. Board Game Trucker in the chat, do you feel the small box restriction is a good thing to have when approaching design? Now, we're talking to you as publishers, so let's rephrase that slightly, because you're both game designers also. But I want to talk to you about this as publishers, because I think that's the more interesting thing. Do you feel like you get more interesting and innovative designs because of the small form factor? We'll start with Jason Tagmire. Go.
Yeah, I think it's interesting seeing. I like to. As a designer, I like to design from restrictions, so I like to see how the restrictions can get people's creative thoughts going. And we've seen art. We did, like Kotarski said, we do contests, and our first contest had 72 entries, and I would say that 45 of those entries were very different from each other, and the other 30-some were all a variation of Brave Rats. but the ones that were very different from each other, there's so much you can do with 18 cards. And I started to worry, like, what's going to happen in a year? Are we going to have to just abandon this line, or are we going to have to add a little bag full of bits that you can use that work for all the different games? But we're still seeing interesting games that use 18 cards. So part of my challenge as a publisher is to just surprise people that we can put out something new over and over and over that uses, just that same concept, but very differently.
Kotarski?
Yeah, for me as a designer, I wouldn't get anything done if I didn't place those kind of constraints on myself. Like, because there's just so much you can do to say, like, I often start with physical components and say, I want to make a card game that is 54 cards, or I'm going to get as close to that as I can. If I need to put some cards in extra, I will. That sort of thing. And I think it's helped me as a publisher as well, because I hear time and time again, designer come up to me and says, hey, I got a game for Green Couch. It'll totally fit in your box. And like, they think of me like when they have a certain size game. So I think it can be a helpful thing. Just like placing those constraints, like, wow, like now I have a goal in mind. I'll do something with that, and I'll cram it into that space, or I'll just maybe bubble over a little bit without just going crazy and letting it just like, flood the earth.
Sure. So your games start off as Cool Mini or Not Dudes on a Map and end up with a deck of cards in a small box. I'm not gonna lie. I'd like to see that. That'd be fun. Jason Tagmire, it was asked specifically, Chad Roberts in the chat asked how the transition of Circle of the Wagons came to be included in the Loot Crate with the X-Files IP.
Oh, that's interesting. So I went to Gen Con, and one of our backers was working at the IDW booth and said, can you deliver the game to me and, for free shipping or whatever it was. And I don't even think I ever paid him back the shipping. I better make a note of that. Because I
just saved some dude $5. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So he was working at the booth and he said, can you drop it off? So I went to drop it off and he wasn't there. And they were like, oh, what's this? And I showed him and they're like, let's play. So we played Circle Wagons and they were just like, oh, wow, this is really cool. And, we have some connections with Loot Crate and they're looking for tiny games like this that they can make for, $1 or whatever it is. Just because there's a tiny bit of room in there to make something new. So I said, I have a whole bunch of these kind of games. So I sent them rules for a whole bunch. I mailed them a couple and they worked their connection with Loot Crate. And I was waiting to see because I knew it was going to be tied up with some sort of licenses. And I was trying to figure out like what was going to happen. And then boom, they hit me with the X-Files and I was kind of floored. And all of our people, everyone who's a fan of Button Shy or Circle Wagons keeps coming to me and saying, how can I get a copy of this? And I'm like, I got mine on eBay, So, we have nothing to do with it. We worked with them, but they're licensing it from us. So it's way out of our hands at that point, but it's huge for us because our name's right on the back. It has the Button Shy logo right on there. The day that it hit, our sales on the website jumped quite a bit. And I attributed it to that. So yeah, it's cool. And there will likely be a few more. So
very cool.
Nice.
Very cool.
Congratulations.
That's awesome. I gotta say, this show. Every time I do a show with a publisher and they tell me about a thing that I don't know about, I end up losing money. So, that's fine. I'm sort of used to being revenue negative as part of this show now because I just end up buying a bunch of stuff. But I got to say, when we started the main segment, I pled, sell to me. And I was kind of half being a smart aleck, right? Like I was sort of saying, look, I'm big epic gamer dude, prove me wrong. And I meant that in all the good humor in the world. But I got to say, I'm really intrigued. Marty in the chat said something about being somebody that suffers with chronic pain. She really values the idea of having small games with big gameplay. So that way she isn't constantly lugging stuff around. The older I get, the more I can jive with that, right? Like the less awesome it gets to try and pack Eclipse in my carry-on bag and fly to New Hampshire with it, or whatever. That may or may not have happened last year for Grand Games. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah,
what are we looking at?
People my tiny magnet balls.
What?
I keep dropping stuff.
Oh, gotcha.
I dropped my fidget cube, and now I'm playing with the little tiny balls, and I dropped some of them, and you can hear that. So the little tiny fidget balls. I got a bunch of this stuff in my stocking for Christmas. Thank you, Matthew.
Gotcha. All right, so real fast to wrap this sucker up, Jason Kotarski, for dummies like me, who who say it's not the size of the box, her, and are making and thinking that everything has to be a big $50 Euro box. What would you point me to? Not just yours, but how do you explain this? Like, how do you condense the last half an hour down into a sound bite so that way we can say, look, blah, as far as to paint a different picture?
Yeah, I think that these types of games often give you an opportunity to explore one thing really deeply, rather than just trying to like dip your toes into like the 12 different things that are presented to you. So explore, the time track thing, or explore multi-use, cards in some interesting ways. There's engine building, just like it with those constraints often comes like you're slimming down the opportunities and the possibilities. And I think that these games just go a long way towards letting people get a rich experience with people that they might not have a chance to get that same experience with if they want to pull out their favorite, coffin box or whatever that is. So
and not have to visit the chiropractor after game. I like that idea. I like that. I like the idea of focused experience, right? So the idea is that you're focusing into one part. This game might not do 47 things, but it's going to do one thing really, really well. And it's going to sell you on that one thing. That's really cool. Jason Tagmire, how do we convince people that 18 games in a little folding plastic thing is awesome? And how do we get people past that you have to have a $60 box?
For me, well, here's a great example. We tried to see how many could fit in a Gloomhaven box about 2 weeks ago.
And that's not fair. I could sleep in a Gloomhaven box if I really wanted to.
It was 313 games.
Holy crap!
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
But I mean, part of it is we're trying to pack a lot of punch into these tiny little games, and to throw that in your bag alongside of everything else and be able to pull that out and make a impression to other gamers is great. To have 2 or 3 of them that do that, and they all play very differently. A big thing for me is just the variety. We have a wide variety of games. Some that you're going to want to play with your family, some that you're going to play with your friends. Some that you're going to play by yourself. There's a bit of solo gaming in there. It's just you could just take them anywhere. So the portability is great, and just they're sort of you're kind of taking the little creative artistic side to everything, where it's not anything like what you're going to see in a game store. It's nothing. You have to kind of take those chances, and just want to see the art of gaming a little bit more than the pretty components. I probably didn't convince you with that, but that's why we only sell so many games. But that's what I like about it.
Jason, I'm not just blowing smoke up you when I say this. You have kind of sold me on this idea, because I have always been one of those guys that small box games really struggle to get my attention when I'm looking at my shelf trying to figure out what to play. Now I kind of want to revisit this and see, go at things from the other side. So I'm sold. We'll have I'm gonna make you stay on the hangout a few minutes after the show's over, is all I'm saying. So hang on just a second. All right. So Kimberly hasn't started shouting at me about the clock yet, which I can't decide if that's because she's so tired.
Dropping tiny magnet balls everywhere.
Oh, well, there you go. See, if you distract yourself by making an inadvertent mess all over the place,
I'm trying to grab all the things I've dropped with my feet currently.
Nice. All right. Well, Jason and Jason, thank you so much for coming on the show. You guys have been and I love these conversations that challenge preconceptions, because I think that there's a lot of bias, and it isn't ill-intentioned, but it's inadvertent, right? Like everything is big spectacle games, it feels like, or maybe not everything, but it sure is a lot of it. And so it's good to sort of challenge that, especially from a personally biased standpoint, and really focus on that. I love that you guys are doing this, and I love talking to you about it. But as smart as you sounded over the last 60 plus minutes, we're about to fix some of that, because it is time for our final segment. It is the return of the rapid fire segment, where it's time to ask you stupid questions. Patrick, do you want to go over the rules of rapid fire with the guys here?
The rules of rapid fire, I'm going to ask you each 5 questions. You may not go, I don't know, or
just
repeat
yell
the question or whatever. You need to immediately answer me as quickly as possible, the answer to the question. And I think that's it.
Yep.
Okay.
And they are 5 unique questions each.
5
You will
unique
each get 5
questions.
different, so there's
There'll be
no
5 different questions. They're not going to repeat the end. You're not going to be the same question. So Jason Kotarski is going to go first. Jason Tagmire will get 5 unique questions.
All right.
Are you ready?
Jason
Kotarski, are you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be.
All right. The first one's easy. Name a button shy game.
Oh gosh. I want to name the right one. Superplex.
There you go. That's a good one.
By Ryan Cowler.
Sorry. There's 3 of them on the behind me here.
I didn't want to go easy.
Name your favorite rock band.
Favorite rock band? Like
your favorite rock band.
Oh yeah.
What you would go see last
Oh,
time?
that's so hard. Currently, it's this band called Warriors. That is incredible. But that's just like the last 2 weeks. So
okay. Name a 2-player game that you like that can also play more than 2 players.
Oh my goodness. Ticket to Ride.
Cool. Name your favorite Dice Hate Me game.
Bell of the Ball, actually.
Nice.
That one is under the radar and deserves everyone's love. It's so good.
Good. Name the best ice cream to have a la mode.
I don't even know what that means.
On the side.
Oh yeah.
Like with a brownie or a piece of cake.
Butter pecan.
Jason Kotarski, can you come on the show every week and just play around?
One of the best ones ever.
We'll just pull you in for 5 minutes and make you answer stuff. Well done, Jason.
Well, that's it. Oh man, we can do this all night.
Yes.
All we need is sleep deprived Jason, and we got comedy gold.
I'm really good at about 9:30. So
you are good. It's like 11:11 though.
Your life, I know your life is hard. Jason Tagmire of Button Shy Games. You've seen what you're up against. Are you ready?
I can be worse. I'm warning you.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, I'm starting off easy again. Name your favorite president.
Obama.
Okay. Name a red Muppet.
I was going to name a Fraggle. Miss Piggy's kind of reddish.
Okay, we'll go with that. Name a solo game or solo game designer.
Hostage negotiator.
Nice. Name the smallest game that you have in a box.
It's anything in the tiny line, whatever it's called. I'm cheating. Hugh.
All right, here's a good one. Name a Star Wars droid that is not R2-D2, C-3PO, or BB-88.
It's BB-8, but
I knew you'd correct me.
R5D4.
And what is R5D4?
Do you want the long version? He's the droid that that they almost purchased in the beginning of A New Hope, and they chose
the red one.
Yes, and he blew up because he has force powers, and blowing up was going to make all this stuff happen, and Luke eventually blew up the Death Star.
Nice. You should do like a Star Wars podcast or something.
Yeah,
Star Wars and Muppets. Except for the idea that Miss Piggy is red hurts my brain.
I was going to say red Fraggle.
Fraggles are Muppets.
Red.
I was thinking of the shrimp.
Yeah.
Pepe.
Or animal.
Animal. Yeah. Anyway, that was fun. Thank you.
That was awesome. Well done, Jason Tagmire. Very good. All right, Jason Kotarski, if people wanted to know more about you and the stuff that you do online, where would you send them?
I would send them to my Twitter at Jason Kotarski and my Twitter at Green Couch Games. They can go to greencouchgames.com. They can go to listen to the 20 Minutes of Filler podcast where I talk about this stuff in 20-minute chunks regularly. It's available on iTunes or wherever, I don't know, wherever podcasts come from.
Sure.
And then we have a Facebook group called the 20 Minutes of Filler Facebook group as well. So that's a good place to interact. We do game giveaways and talk about these little games too. So
that's very cool. And by the way, dear viewer, if you go to greencouchgames.com, you will be greeted by the most smoldering look that Jason Kotarski has ever given a complete stranger. I'm just going to say, you want to go, the landing page is something to behold. Jason, it is spicy. Jason, how about you? Where would people go to look at your stuff?
So the hub of everything is buttonshygames.com. Kind of links you everywhere. Twitter is just jtagmire or buttonshy. If you want to listen to me, I'm doing a daily podcast called Design Diary where I take a word of the day and then just write in my notebook about it and then read it. And then there's special guests on the weekend and things like that. And I'm just dabbling in some YouTube stuff. So just search for Buttonshy anywhere.
And apparently soon to come a Jasons and Muppets podcast.
Yes, absolutely.
All the Jasons and all the Muppets. I like it.
I'm still going to go get my Muppet.
We'll give you 30 seconds. Go for it. Kimberly, bless your heart. Thank you so much for joining us after a long weekend. Congratulations on an awesome Granite Game Summit. I'm really sad that I couldn't be there. But Oh, hang on. We'll take a
That
moment.
got okay.
Wow, that's huge.
Holy crap.
It
When you
is.
said a Muppet, I thought you meant like a Muppet-sized
Oh,
Muppet,
it's
but that's a people-sized Muppet. Hold on.
Whoa,
We'll
whoa.
focus on that. Wait, what? Oh, my Lord. Ugh.
Yeah,
I am so jealous.
Dude.
That's a thing of beauty, Jason.
it's the best.
If somebody breaks into your house and steals it, it definitely wasn't me.
Hey, what's your address? What's your address?
Exactly. All right. Holy crap. All right, Kimberly, again, thank you. Good job on Granite Games Summit. If people wanted to know more about you, where would you send them?
Yes. Don't fall on your tiny balls. I just saw them pop up because it saved me.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why you want to join us live. If you are one of those people that watches afterwards on YouTube, we love you too. But you want to be here live. The chat room is ridiculous. Thank you, Netters.
I just saw because it red flagged my name on the side of the screen all of a sudden. Okay, yes, you probably don't need to find me now. At KJ Revia on Twitter and Instagram. And I run the social media for Granite Game Summit too, where I don't talk about the tiny balls. So
Oh, that's a solid choice.
yeah.
Very good. I'm calling it right now. A couple people in the chat and on social media were kind enough to say they both missed myself and Patrick. I'm going to be there in 2019. I'm just saying it now. Calling it now.
Thank you.
See you next year. Patrick,
Too.
Phil.
I am over on the WYPD What Did You Play This Week podcast, doing conversations and weekly chats, and we're also here part of. I'm going to throw this in now because I wanted to mention it. We're also part of Punchboard Media, where we all bring
something to the table.
Yay!
I want to put a plug in for our recent women in gaming focus.
Yeah.
We had one Carolyn Tagmire.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. That's
I tried to paste it into the link into the chat, but it didn't. It failed. So you guys will have to search for that on your own.
Patrick will send me the link. He'll put it in the chat for the Hangout, and then I will put it in the description of the video on YouTube in a hot second. How about that?
That'll work.
There you go. Very good. Yeah, that's awesome. Very good. Mm-hmm. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know more about this show, you can always visit us at thecubistpodcast.com, where you can feel free to support the show by buying some merch or contributing on Patreon or just spreading the word. Whatever it is that helps you get to sleep at night and helps us figure our stuff out is all very much appreciated. So thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Thank you, Jasons and Kimberly and Patrick, for joining me tonight. Everybody have a fantastic week of gaming, and we will catch you all next time. Have a great week, everybody.
Night all.
Bye.